My favorite place to go during spring migration is the Rio Grande Valley. I have no hesitation.
Thank you for tuning into Hannah and Eric Go Birding, a podcast by birders for birders.
I'm Hannah and he's Eric.
We created this podcast to share adventures, sometimes misadventures, and opinions that we have on different birding topics. We're definitely not experts, and anything that we discuss that might be controversial, I want you to remember that our own opinions might be different from yours.
So, as always, the Tufted Puffins are here, and they are, really active, and we've had some really fun puffin walks in the last couple weeks. We've had, 50 people or so,
yeah, these are,
stopping by.
Fully loaded walks. We'll start off with, 10 people, maybe 12 people at the ramp, which is, that's a good number of people, with just the two of us. And then we get down to the rock, set up quote unquote camp, plop our sign out, and then we'll end up with 50 people. It's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how you put out a spotting scope and then people just flock to you.
Yeah, and it's every single morning we go out.
Yeah, and the mornings it's been kind of slow, or if we have lulls, I've been doing TikTok lives. So if you want to see what we're doing during our puffin walks, you might join us on TikTok, which is at Hannah and Eric Go Birding. And I'll try to do lives whenever we don't have anybody hanging out with us. So
or when there's only a couple of people.
Yeah,
because I'll talk to the people and then Hannah will TikTok live.
I just mutter into my jacket, my little microphone in my jacket, and then everybody's like, "Who is she talking to?"
She's just talking to herself over
I'm
there.
talking to the people on the internet. Okay,
I think she's talking to the puffins.
Yes, I'm muttering to the puffins. So anyways, yeah, that's a lot of fun. And if you find yourself in Cannon Beach, Oregon this summer, look up Puffin Walk with us. And if you're here and we don't have a walk scheduled, just reach out to us and we'll try to work something out, at least to show you puffins.
Yeah, sometimes we can show you puffins. Sometimes we can give you pretty good directions on how to see them pretty easily. So
yeah, it's funny.
And they're honestly not that hard to see. It's just
you gotta know what you're doing.
You gotta know what you're doing a little bit.
Which is so true with many birds.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we are, again, going to Costa Rica with Naturalist Journeys in October. I'm just super jazzed about it. We got our field guides. We have our flights. It's just a waiting game now.
Yeah.
And we still have a couple spaces left. So if you would like to join us, this trip is a go. We're all set. But we would love to have you join us as well. And I know that some people book things at the last second. So there's still some time to book if you want to go.
There is still the last second that exists.
Yes, exactly. So join us, and more information is in the show notes.
Yeah. So you can support our show if you'd like with a couple of links that we have in our show notes. Buy Me a Coffee and Venmo. We want to say thank you to Dave and also to the Vernons for providing us some coffees on Buy Me a Coffee. We don't do this show because we want to make money. We do this because we want to share birds and share birding with everyone that we can. Everyone deserves to be able to see birds and hear birds and know about birds. So that's why we do this. But it does cost some money to run the show. So we really highly appreciate it that we get a little bit of support there.
And we also have merchandise on Bonfire, which is linked to our Buy Me a Coffee page. So if you want to support our show in that way, there's some gear there that you can purchase.
So, Hannah, you've got two other podcasts that you do in between Hannah and Eric Go Birding episodes that come out once a month each. And we've got last week, you had Women Birders Happy Hour. Who'd you have on, and what sort of drink did you make?
So I had Liliana Trujillo, who we actually met when we were in Colombia a couple years ago.
I do remember that.
She's a woman guide who's really into conservation and, connecting people with birds. And her drink is an Andean Mott Mott. So listen to that podcast anywhere you check out podcasts.
Yeah. And then next week, you read a book on Bird Nerd Book Club and then interviewed an author.
Yeah. So I have Andrea Ezerines, who wrote When the Forest Dreams. At first, I wasn't really entirely sure about the book because it's a fiction book. It's a, adult romance and fiction book, and which I have done before on the podcast. Yeah. But as I was reading it, I was like, how do I talk about this without giving away all of the important parts? Yeah. Because usually I'm, doing fiction or I'm doing nonfiction. And so it's not like there's anything to give away, really. So, it was fun to chat with her about how birds were incorporated into the story. So check that out anywhere you listen to podcasts. So, Eric, we're going some places.
We are. So we are going to go to Hawaii in September. We're gonna try to do a little bit of birding, do a scuba refresher, because it's been 10 years
At least
since we've been scuba diving, and we really want to try to maybe get back into that a little bit. And then in October, with Naturalist Journeys, we're going to Costa Rica with a bunch of our listeners. And then in November, going to the Rio Grande Valley Birding Festival. Can't wait to get back there. We're going to talk about the Rio Grande Valley today in this episode, but that's the spring episode. In the fall, in the Rio Grande Valley, we go down there in November. And then in April, we are going to be going to Birding the Border in Del Rio, Texas. Never been to that festival. Super excited to go there for the first time. It is on the border, but it's not the valley. So kind of excited to see what that brings.
Yeah, definitely. So check us out in some of those places. We would love to bump into you at the festivals, and also if you want to come to Costa Rica with us.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our June Bird Nerd giveaway. We have 3 summer reading books for you, which are Around the World in 80 Birds, My Penguin Year, and A Sweet Wild Note. 3 books that I've read and really enjoyed, and want to pass on to somebody else that wants to do some summer reading.
Yeah, so in order to win this 3-pack of summer reading books, you got to tell us what your summer reading list is. By June 23rd, you'll be randomly selected to win if you just tell us what your summer reading list is. We're kind of doing this. I was kind of doing this as a favor to Hannah so that she can get some ideas for some interesting books to add to future Bird Nerd book clubs. But maybe I'll learn to read books and enjoy them as well. So we'll see. But whatever is on your summer reading list this year, enter by June 23rd, and you could possibly win these 3 books that Hannah's given away.
Mm-hmm. So we were fortunate enough to be asked again in April to go to the Spring Chirp Birding Festival based out of Weslaco, Texas, which is one of our favorite events to go to. It's a smaller festival, so it doesn't have like the vendor area, but it has a really nice vibe. Everybody gets together in the evening for dinners, and just, it's a real chill atmosphere. And Holly, the coordinator for the event, she attracts a lot of people to the festival from the different festivals she as a vendor at. Yeah. So typically she gets a lot of people from like the Space Coast area because she goes to that one, Tucson, and San Diego. And then, of course, there's other people that find out about it, from our podcast, too. Yeah. We had a couple people that were there because of our show, which is really cool. So thank you for joining us if you are one of those people. But it's just a great time to go to the Rio Grande Valley because spring migration is like my favorite time to be there. Yeah,
and you go out to any of these hotspots that you go to, and you end up with like 50, 60, 70 species for just like half a day of birding, which is super cool.
Of leisurely birding, too.
Yeah, of relatively leisurely birding. Yeah, you're not like really just going hardcore. And so it's really good time of year to be down the Rio Grande Valley, and we're always excited to go down there. And it's, like Hannah said, it's a small festival. It operates more like a large group trip than it does a festival. Because you have your transportation all included, your meals are included, like the whole thing. It's just one big package deal. So it's a lot of fun.
Which can throw some people off about cost because you do pay like the entire cost up front, which seems like huge. But then if you go to one of these festivals like Rio Grande, you pay an entry, like a basic fee to get in.
Registration fee. And then you pay for per trip. And ends up coming out pretty similar in the wash.
Yeah, depending on the festival.
Depending on the festival, yeah.
So we arrived in Harlingen Airport and made our way over to the Festival Hotel, which is in Weslaco. So like 20-30 minute drive over. And there's a kickoff like right when we land. Flights are always a little goofy, so we get there like at 4-ish, and then the kickoff starts like at 4:30, so we're always like getting in a few minutes late. But it's so fun to get together with friends and participants, to hype up the next couple of days and like, reacquaint ourselves with everybody and just get in the valley vibe of being down there and ready to check out some cool birds.
Yeah, and something that we started doing last year that I think, I don't know why we weren't doing it every year, probably because it wasn't always there, but we go to the kickoff.
This is our 3rd year doing this.
Is it the 3rd year doing it? Yeah. So go to the kickoff, and then we kind of gather up a couple of people and then head over to Benson Rio Grande Valley State Park because there's a nesting pair of elf owls that are pretty darn easy to see. They're generally in the same spot. They return to nest every year in the same hole. And it's kind of fun to go there and watch them come out in the evening. And we've been looking like at eBird like kind of religiously the couple of weeks leading up to the festival to make sure like, oh, have they been seen? Okay, cool, they've been seen. And then we track them like what time, and it's pretty much right around sunset, which I think sunset was like at 7ish.
I think it was more like 8.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think it was 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock for sunset, and they're pretty much coming out right around sunset each day. So as we track sunset getting a little bit later, we just kind of watch that.
So last year when we went and did this, it was like mosquito haven. It was awful. So, I mean, it was good for mosquitoes, but it was bad for us.
So I don't remember it, but beaded curtains from like the 70s.
Okay.
Like big, thick, hanging beaded curtains. That's what it was like with the mosquitoes last year. Like just pushing through this like... And you could hear them as you're like, you could hear them smacking as you're pushing.
They would like hit you in the face as you were walking.
It was very, very thick last year. This year, like I got 2 mosquito bites.
Yeah.
We were out there for almost an hour.
Yeah.
2 mosquito bites total.
It wasn't bad at all.
And I didn't use any mosquito spray this time. Last year I used a ton of like the mosquito gel stuff that we have.
That spills all over the place.
Yeah, that spills all over the place and gets all over all my stuff.
Yeah.
but it was all over my stuff, and I just put some on intentionally last year. This year I didn't put any on, and it was like just...
It wasn't bad at all.
2 mosquitoes, no problem. So it
had been dry the couple weeks before the Spring Chirp Festival, so that helped the mosquito situation, not so much the bird situation.
Yeah.
So anyways, we got to the viewing spot, so it's really easy. It's right at the entrance. Like if you just get to Benson at like 7:30, you'll see a crowd of people standing there waiting for the bird to come out.
If you're there in the late spring into the early summer. Yeah,
and it's just some mishmash of different people. So it's, families with kids and elderly birders, and then sometimes jokers like us.
Yeah, well, and sometimes the park superintendent's hanging out there.
Yeah,
it's just kind of you never know who you're going to see standing around there, and we saw a bunch of random people. Though something that I wanted to talk about is something that was very disturbing while we were there. Behavior around owl nests. So this is an owl. It's a known location.
It's a huge conversation.
It's a huge conversation.
Everywhere in the country and the world. There's constant conversations in like Central Park about how to deal with owls that I see online.
not sharing locations of owl nests, stuff like that. This is a very, very public location. It's very easy to see. It's easy to see people standing there. It's not a hidden location. It's not an unknown location. But you still should be treating this owl as if it's a skittish owl, and as if it's
needs to be respect.
You need to treat it with respect, which pretty much everyone there was. Like there was no, everyone was staying back. Some of the kids were kind of loud and obnoxious, but
there's nothing you can do about
that. There's nothing you can do. They're kids, and they're just going to be loud and obnoxious sometimes. But we were back. Like everyone was back away from the hole, underneath the tree line, so that it was out on the pole away from us. Until the owl came out, popped its head out, showed everyone what's going on, popped back in, came back out a few minutes later, went back in again. And then this couple, I guess, they were like, okay, we've seen it, we're done. And instead of like walking away from the nest
and out to the
road and then up the road, they just like walked straight towards the pole, right underneath the nest. And it was just like the most shocking thing. Like we're standing there with our friend Izzy, and we were like, What is it? We're all in just like disbelief and shock that this person, instead of like walking away from the nest to go, and took like a weird direct route right underneath the nest.
I was kind of surprised he didn't like, slap the pole or something. Like good show.
Good. Yeah. It was the weirdest thing. So just be aware, like don't ruin the experience for everyone else. Don't scare the bird. Don't unnecessarily stress birds. Like these are, even though this is a bird that is easy to see. You can walk right up to it. It's not an issue. Don't walk right up to it. Stay back. Use your optics. Use your distance, because they're they're a wild animal. They should be able to do what wild animals get to do.
Well, and if you go and scare it, then it might not come back. It might abandon the nest it has. It might also just never return again, which would be such a bummer because it's such a cool, easily viewable owl that, tons of people want to see, and we all need to be respectful to do that.
And it might have eggs in the nest. It might have chicks, and you're disturbing a bird that's just trying to live its life. So just stay back away from it. All birds, but especially owls.
So that's your PSA about elf owls.
Yeah.
But anyways. We did get a great view of the owl. I got some videos of it, which I was excited about. Did you get any photos, or was it too dark?
I'm really bad at compensating for low light, so they're pretty bad photos.
Okay.
They were better this year than I've got in the past, but I guess I'm getting a little bit better.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Maybe next year I'll be even better. Just one step better each time.
So we also had chimney swifts and purple martins and longbill and thrasher. So it was good to get back down and see some of our favorite species before we were about to guide the next day.
Yeah. And Eastern Screech Owl calling.
Yeah.
Singing like most of the time we were there. So pretty good outing, even though we had that little disturbing thing right at the end.
So our first day of the festival itself, we were leading a trip called the Coastal Extravaganza, which is a boat trip out to Colley's Island to look for the mangrove warbler with Captain Henry, and then to bird around South Padre Island. So we had just a couple people on that trip, and our first stop, because people wanted to see the Aplomado falcon, was to check the Aplomado viewing area, which is on Highway 100 out towards South Padre Island. It's just a really random little pull-off that has a hacking box like way out in the field, and so usually you can see if there's a bird in the hacking box, and if there's not, they usually hang out in the Spanish daggers that are kind of like, I don't know, quarter mile or or 10 miles away. I can't tell distance there.
There's a lot of things to stand on, and so you just kind of look at the hacking box, and it's an eBird hotspot, the Texas 100 Aplomado viewing spot. But you check the hacking box and you look at any of the things that are standing. So you have Spanish daggers, you have power poles, you have the cell phone tower, you have all these different spots that things can perch on, because that's what they do. They perch up on high locations. So you just kind of scan through all that stuff. You don't see anything there. Then you wait a few minutes and then you scan again, because it might have jumped down to hunt something and then came back up. So most days you can go out there and see it. Unfortunately, we did not see it that day when we were out there, but we saw a whole bunch of other cool stuff, including... And
we only had a few minutes to stop because we had to make our meeting with the captain.
Yeah, we had a timeline, so it's like I think we had 10 minutes?
Yeah, something
maybe,
like that.
Maybe less than 10 minutes, maybe long. 5 minutes is all we actually had to stop. So we did see some cool stuff. We had Chihuahuan ravens, which we don't always see there, but we had Chihuahuan ravens that were carrying nesting material, so it looked like possibly making a nest on the cell phone tower. Maybe not, but at least they were carrying nesting material, which was interesting. Crested caracara, lots of Harris's hawks, some osprey flying around.
16 roseate spoonbills, so fly over them.
A big flyover of roseate
so cool.
spoonbills. So it was really cool, especially for a lot of people that it was their first day of birding in the valley. So Chihuahuan ravens new for them, crested caracara, Harris's hawks, the roseate spoonbills. All these birds are lifers for some of these people. So it's very, very exciting. And then you've got some people that came from even further away. So laughing gull and Eastern meadowlark were lifers for them. So it's kind of pretty cool to get some relatively easy birds right off the bat for some people that aren't from that area.
So from there, we headed off we had to stop at the bathroom because there's no bathroom that I'm aware of over at the marina.
Not at the marina, yeah.
And we got to the marina and met up with Captain Henry, the boat we used this time was different than the boat I was on previously. Yeah. And it
was the same boat that I used during the Rio Grande Festival.
So you've been with him three times, and I've been with him twice. So anyways, that was a really nice boat because it had a lot more seating than the first one I was on. That was more of just like a flat boat.
Yeah.
I don't know. That one didn't have as much seating. It had a big open area in the middle. So anyways, it's a really nice boat, and we got everybody on and headed off to go around kind of the marina area first to see what was there. My favorite thing was that there was an osprey with a fish perched on a sign that says "No fishing."
And it had a fish.
Yeah.
It was there with a fish on the no fishing sign.
Yeah. I got a video of it, and I think I posted it, and I was like, when you defy the rules or something like that. And there were several American oyster catchers on the beach, which is really fun to see them because we don't get to see them that much. They're such a big oyster catcher.
Yeah. Yeah, which I looked up the size difference between American and black, and initially I was thinking like, oh, these don't look like they're like the size difference even doesn't seem like it's a lot, but it's like a 50% increase in size between the two.
It's a big bird.
It's substantially larger than black oyster catchers, which we have black oyster catchers here in Cannon Beach constantly. So to see an oyster catcher that's substantially larger. Yeah. Like it's also a whole different color. It's got white. It's a
whole different bird.
It's a whole different bird, but it's so much bigger. So it's just really interesting.
And there was a group of black skimmers on the beach. We had dolphins that were swimming alongside us.
A lot of dolphins this time.
A lot of people on the trip didn't care about the dolphins, but I was like, I want to see dolphins.
Yeah. We had a ton of dolphins this time. Like there's a fuel barge that we scoot past. And then there's another like big barge that's just kind of always parked there, and that second big barge was just like dolphins like galore all along. They were feeding. They must have been chasing some schooling fish right in that area, but it was a lot of dolphins. And
then there's like some infrastructure right next to it that had a bunch of cave swallows that were nesting underneath. So yeah, that was a really birdie spot. And then we moved over to Colley's Island, which is a protected nesting island and the best place to see mangrove warblers. And right as we pulled along the north side of the island, there was a male mangrove warbler that came out and was singing.
Yeah. So there's very, very infrequently do we use playback. This time we didn't have to use playback to initially see the first one. It's just out like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? Yeah. So it was very, very, very cooperative male mangrove. We had a female too for a minute.
We did.
Yeah. So it was very, very interesting. Lots of people got on it. It was very very vocal. And
we watched it for a long time too.
And it would completely leave the area, and so then we're like, okay, we're good. So we start to move away, and then it comes right back, and it's like, hey, I'm still here. So pretty darn good. And it's just recently, the mangrove warblers just recently split last year from yellow warbler. They split up, so it's northern yellow warbler and mangrove yellow warbler.
And the ones in Texas are the Mexican subspecies, and they are all yellow except for their face is like a bright rusty color.
Yeah.
So they're really obviously different than, some of the other mangrove warblers we were seeing in the Caribbean last year that we talked about.
Yeah, we're on like the mangrove warbler circle tour.
Yeah, we're trying to get all the subspecies. So when they split them, man, we are going to get so many armchair lifers. It's going to be crazy. So we skimmed along the edge of that island, which is a rookery. So we saw just so many breeding birds and displaying birds and tricolored herons and roseate spoonbills and egrets and just all
reddish
sorts of
egrets,
stuff.
Tons of reddish egrets. So lots of really good birds on that island, and it's a protected island. You can't step foot on it. It's the whole island's protected, and it's just full of birds from one end to the other. It's the north and the northeast side of the island it's like this sandy shore, and then the rest of it's all mangrove. And so there's all the nesting birds on the shore. You have a bunch of skimmers that are just loafing, and then you have black or American oyster catchers that are nesting. And then all those herons in the rookery. So it's a really good. And there's gull-billed terns, forester's terns, sandwich terns, royal terns, all the different terns that you could expect to see out here.
So usually when folks ask us about going to the valley for like the birding festivals down there, they ask, what trip should we get on? And I usually say King Ranch and the Upper Rio.
Upper Rio, yeah.
And like like I said, this is only the second time I've been on Colley's Island, so I haven't had a whole lot of experience on it. But this trip was definitely like a clincher to me. That's like, okay, I'm adding that to my repertoire. So when somebody asks me, like, get on Colley's Island, especially if you're going in the spring, because everybody is nesting then, so you get to see some really cool behaviors.
Oh yeah.
So we skimmed along, the shore and didn't get a whole lot more other than like those terns and lots of swallows and a kingfisher. And so it was pretty busy there, but then we headed back to shore to move along with the rest of the day. We were free to explore South Padre Island bird migration hotspots. The beauty of this festival is that it's kind of like dealer's choice.
Yeah, do whatever the participants want. Take them to see. You have general guidelines of, okay, well this one is specifically Colley's Island, so we're doing the boat trip, and then whatever else you can do to show people cool birds down near that area, the coastal extravaganza. So we just go and see coastal stuff. So
we get to go to our favorite places.
We get to go to our favorite places, exactly. So we went to Sheep's Head. Which is a Valley Land Fund site on the island. It's on Sheep's Head Road. It has a hotspot name, eBird hotspot name. The Valley Land Fund Lots. Man, that's for some reason that's hard to say.
Which every time I try to look it up on eBird, I forget that, and so I look up Sheep's Head. Yeah, and then it pulls up with random places around the world that
start with sheep.
Yeah. Anyways, so it's kind of frustrating. I wish they would change that. But migration was happening when we got there, and there was a lot of people out there birding already. Mm-hmm. Right off the bat, when we were getting out of the van, we had hooded warblers. Mm-hmm. They were really low on the north lot. Yeah. So we got some great looks at hooded warblers moving around. We had orchard orioles and hooded orioles, yellow-throated vireo, white-eyed vireo,
northern parula, summer tanager, indigo bunting, painted bunting. It was a smorgasbord of just migrating stuff. And
I had a really good black and white warbler that was just like moving along the fencing. Yeah. And then it was crawling back and forth like on top of like they have these posts on the ground, these like rails, split rail. Yeah. That you can stand on to like get a better look. And it was just moving back and forth on there gleaning.
So I'm looking at the eBird checklist right now, and I realized I'd never put that black and white warbler on there. And I was like, I remember watching that. I think I have pictures of it for my camera too. So I'm gonna need to adjust the eBird checklist and fix that.
Wow, way to go.
Yeah. For some reason, I guess I was too busy looking at all the other birds, and I missed that one on the checklist.
It was just so busy though, just orioles all over the place. So we had to hit the bathroom.
Yeah, we didn't spend very much time there at all. We were 20 minutes, 20 minutes or less there. But we all had to run to the bathroom, so it was like, well, let's go up to the convention, or not the convention center, but the nature center right next to the convention center. They've got a nice bathroom there. We'll swing in there and use that and eat lunch, just because that's a convenient place to do that. So we had to pull ourselves away from all those migrants and go up to the Nature and Birding Center.
Well, and even when we got to the Nature Center, there's like this big pond in the front of it, and there was birds all through there. So it was like, okay, you didn't need to go to the bathroom that bad because folks stopped and were watching all the birds flying through there.
So we stopped, had lunch on the deck, and then while we were sitting there having lunch, realized we were talking to some locals that were there, and there had been a mini fallout or a grounding event. I'm not sure if it rose to the level of a fallout. Like 4 days prior. Yeah. And we were kind of on the tail end of that. So there was still a lot of locals that were just around. And so our friend Tammy was there. We had basically probably half the people on the boardwalk we knew. Yeah. It was very, very exciting. It was like, oh, hey, how's it going? It was just constant. Because they're all locals.
That's one of my favorite things about going to the valley, though. I feel like we can go to any random pull-off and stop, and we'll know somebody there. Yeah. Which we didn't even live there for that long.
Especially, like, in the spring or in the fall, when on days when there's going to be good birding, like, people are out.
There's just so many people that live down there that love birds. Mm-hmm. Like, you just can't get the same amount of bird interest anywhere else you go. Like, where we live, people, sure, they love birds, but they don't know any of them. They just like them. Which is fine. Yeah, I'm not trying to, downplay that at all. But, like, just so many, like, solid birders that live in the Rio Grande Valley. So, from the deck, they have a little overlook that it looks over a garden. And it has water, so it attracts a lot of things. We were able to see Prothonotary warbler. We had Tennessee, hooded, American redstart, yellow rumped warbler, summer tanagers, painted bunting. It was really busy there. Yeah, so it was hard to pull ourselves away from that.
Again, hard to pull ourselves away, but we had kind of some timelines. So we headed out on the boardwalk itself. It had mangrove yellow warbler calling out on the boardwalk itself. There was nesting green herons that were in pretty much all around the mangroves. Just every couple of feet we'd see another one where it's just like on a nest, just sitting there picking away at stuff.
I was surprised we didn't really see any night herons. I feel like every once in a while we'll see some night herons there.
Kind of shocked we didn't have any night herons.
Redwing and blackbirds had set up shop all over the mangroves too. The whole middle of the boardwalk is just like solid mangroves, so you get just tons of little things in there. And we wandered over to kind of the back end of the boardwalk, which was usually just kind of open water, and it looks like they've been doing some work. So like, I don't know, building dikes or like using spoils of something to fill in areas.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what they were doing, but
Well, there was a big storm last fall, right? Or no, it was last spring. There was a big storm that washed out a whole bunch of stuff.
okay.
And so they've been doing repairs, fixing the water retention systems throughout that area. So it's been a whole work in progress. I think it's been basically a full year of the work in progress. Because I'm pretty sure it was last spring when there was a massive storm that flooded like almost the whole valley.
Yeah.
So there's still some restoration efforts going on there to fix some of that
Well,
stuff.
and that was nice because that provided more space for like shorebirds on that like the north side.
Yeah.
And there was that dike that I said, and it had a lot of black-bellied whistling ducks on it and roseate spoonbills. They were like much closer than you normally get to see at that spot, because normally you only get to see those on the mud flats that are like south.
Yeah, they're like looking way out
there. Yeah. So there was that, and then we had, like I said, a lot of shorebirds, like least sandpipers and pectoral sandpiper, dunlins, willet. It was, I mean, that's always a good spot. You always see a lot of things at the nature center, but felt like we got a lot more, like, better looks.
Yeah. Because
things were so much closer.
Yeah, so we spent a pretty good chunk of time, but it was mostly just standing and enjoying, like, individual birds and just watching the behavior and watching them do stuff and just chatting with our participants about the different things these birds are doing. So.
Oh, and I did have a least bittern, but nobody else got on it.
Yeah, Hannah got a least bittern.
Like, it just flew through and into the brush, and that was it.
So from there, it was basically we about 2 hours in. Time to head back. We had to get all the way back to Weslaco, which is a pretty substantial drive. So we're like, oh, let's hit the bathroom one last time and then head back. But on the way back, we really wanted to still try one more attempt for Aplomado falcon. So we gave ourselves a little window of like 20 minutes or so to stop at a place that we've kind of been to a little bit.
You've been there. I've never been there.
Oh, you haven't been there. Okay. Yeah. So I've been there once and kind of explored it a little bit. The South Texas Ecotourism Center, which is on Highway 100, just outside of Laguna Vista. It's like this really, I kind of was a little down on it when it was first being constructed. You could probably go back and listen to an episode. I was probably down about it in an episode.
Well, it's
years ago.
It's just weird because like you're driving down the highway towards the island and there's this big tower kind of like in the middle of nowhere.
It doesn't look like it's a big tower in the middle of nowhere now. They spent a lot of time and effort and energy building up the native plants around it, so it's kind of a coastal prairie sort of habitat that they've built up around the tower, and then it's just a tower that overlooks the whole thing. And I've been out there and seen aplomados from it, and it's been pretty good. So I was like, oh, let's stop here, and it's free. You just walk in, sign in. I wish I knew who was sponsoring the construction of all that stuff, but it's free. You just sign in and then go. You can use the restrooms there and go up on the tower. So we did both. Used the restrooms and then went up on the tower, and did not have aplomados again, unfortunately. But we had lots of shorebirds. Western sandpiper, which is a really good, pretty darn good bird. It's not a rare bird, but it's a good bird for the valley.
And it was a lifer for some.
It was a lifer for a handful of people because some of the people were from Florida. Yeah. And so this is as far west as this, or far east as this bird gets.
Yeah, but as we were like going up the ramp, there's like a pond, and on the other side of it, there was a couple Altamira orioles that were like hopping around. So, which kind of surprised me to see like Altamira's like so. I mean, there's trees, but it's pretty out in the open.
Like pretty sparse trees.
Yeah, it's not a forest. So yeah, I was surprised to see them there, but they put on a good show for us. Mm-hmm. And then up at the top of the ramp, we saw Harris's hawks and crested caracaras at the distance. And then at the base is where that western sandpiper was, but also whimbrel and spotted sandpiper and greater yellowlegs. The weather was starting to kind of come at us, so it was real windy. So there wasn't a whole lot like actually flying. Yeah,
which is probably why the aplomados weren't up and about.
Yeah.
Because it was pretty breezy up there.
So that evening, the birding festival does dinner, but we weren't able to do that because we were doing a presentation for the local Audubon Society, the Arroyo, Colorado Audubon Society, which was so much fun.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for having us out. We talked about, how to make your house more bird friendly. But again, if you want other presentations, we do have a New Caledonia presentation. And we can also talk about Japan too. So if you have a group that's looking for a speaker, that's an option. Anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun.
It was fun, yeah.
But we missed dinner with everybody, which is a bummer. The next day, we only had one person on our trip, which makes it kind of a do whatever that person wants trip. And it was focused on Brownsville, the Brownsville area. And our participant
I think it's called Resaca's of Brownsville or something like that.
It's called Birdie Brownsville.
Oh, Birdie Brownsville, okay.
And the person who was with us had never really been to Brownsville before. So it was like, okay, let's just show you Brownsville.
Yeah, so first stop, Old Port Isabel Road, which is it's an interesting hotspot. It's if you've never been out there, it's kind of hard to know how you're supposed to bird it, but it's basically just drive the road. The hotspot consists of the southern half of Old Port Isabel Road, starting at the highway that you get on from, and you go up like 1.5 miles or so, maybe 2 miles, up the road until it gets impassable, turn around and come back. So that's what we did. We got on, there's a railroad crossing right after the railroad crossing, which is a high spot on the road. Just after it, you can look to the east, and there's a lake off in the distance. Usually, first thing in the morning is kind of hard to see stuff there because that's where the sun's coming up, and it's you're kind of blinded by the rising sun. But lots of really cool stuff way out there: shovelers, blue-winged teals, whistling ducks, coots, skimmers, tons of terns, egrets, all sorts of stuff out there.
So after this whole trip, we were, like just daydreaming, and we were looking up like plots of land on Zillow to see like, is there any random plot of land that we could turn into like Valley Land Fund lots, just have bird migration come through.
Have people come visit our property and look at birds.
And there is like a weird section of property that's alongside that lake.
That's on like, Old Port Isabel Road.
Yeah, but it's only like $35,000 and it's like 4 acres. It's like so tempting.
Yeah, but it's like a lot of the lots out there are somebody bought it years or decades ago, and now that they've like put it up for sale, they go and spend a bunch of money like right before they put it up for sale of hiring a company to come and clear it. So then they clear all the vegetation off of it, and they're like, oh, it's cleared and ready to build.
I don't think that site is.
That one wasn't, but a lot of the other sites that you found were cleared and ready to build, and it's like, that's the exact opposite of what we want. We don't want it cleared. We want a piece of property that, if we're going to build something on it, would fit it into whatever.
Yeah.
But we want, like, vegetation.
Be a tiny home.
Yeah, exactly. You build something little tiny there, but you want vegetation. You want as much native vegetation as you can get to stick around on that thing.
So if anybody wants to go in with us on this, we'll start a GoFundMe. And you yourself can be a co-owner of a random part of Old Port Isabel Road.
Random parcel of land.
That I don't really think is actually that good, but it's so cheap. So anyways, we just slowly meandered up Old Port Isabel Road after we...
rolled all the windows down and just slow rolled.
Yeah, after we got all of those water birds. And further down the road is good for sparrows. And it ended up being pretty good that day. We had botteries, cassins, lots of olive sparrows calling, lark sparrows, savannah, and we don't get to see those sparrows that much because we don't really target like looking at sparrows. Mm-hmm. But it was hopping. Yeah.
It was a really, really good sparrow morning out there. We were kind of wanted to look for aplomatos again. This is our participant really wanted to see aplomatos, as everyone does. We wanted to see them. Did not see any out there, but it was really, really good sparrows all the way out. So we headed down like I said, about 2 miles, 1.5 miles down the road is where the road kind of peters out. There's a whole
gas line project.
A gas line, yeah, some sort of gas pipeline project that's going through, and there's a delineated wetland that just has a sign that says "wetland no driving" or something like that. It was like, okay, well, that's the extent of that wetland protection that's there. It's just a single sign that the gas line guys are just like driving right through.
Yeah.
But there was a lesser yellowlegs hanging out in there, just in the wetland. It's like,
The
okay,
poor little guy.
there's the wetland bird, the
Yeah.
one lesser yellowlegs that's hanging out. But we got turned around, which was kind of a little bit of a feat in a minivan, getting turned around in that really sloppy, muddy area, and then skedoodled on out of there because we had other places that we wanted to go. We wanted to take our participant out to go see some other birds, but we ended up with almost 50 species from just driving down and turning around and coming back on that road.
Yeah, so our next stop was Sable Palm, which, if you've listened to us before, you know that we have a love-hate relationship with Sable Palm. We've been there when it's super mosquito-y and when it's raining, and just like why do we keep going back there?
We've had great experiences there, and then we've had horrible experiences there. So we just keep going back for punishment, I guess. And this time it was a good experience.
Well, and everybody's always like, "Oh, did you get to Sable Palm?" It's like, why?
Why would you want to go? And then we go back, and then sometimes we'll go back like dreading it, and then have a great experience there.
Yeah.
And then other times we're like, oh man, last time we went, it was so good. We go there and it's just miserable.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I don't know what we're doing to ourselves.
So anyways, we got there and we wandered the trails. It wasn't too mosquito-y, which was nice. And the first blind we got to had a ring kingfisher just putting on quite a show for us, and some common gallinules in the water right in front.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting site. So it's old growth sable palms, which is the only native palm for the Rio Grande Valley. Many of the other palms that are planted are Washingtonia palms. They're the Mexican fan palms. They're pretty easy to tell them apart. The Mexican fan palms have like these spikes. It's like a saw down the shaft of the leaf. The sables don't have that saw, and the sables really provide really good nesting habitat for so many species that are in the valley. You got bats, you have possums, you have the hispid cotton rats. You have all these things that are native to the valley that just live in the palms, including the orioles. You have the hooded orioles nest underneath the leaves.
Well, and owls too. I've seen owls nest them.
So many things live in these trees, or these plants that resemble trees. These palms.
Yeah.
But this is like the last stronghold of sable palms.
No, I was while you were saying that, I was trying to think. I think there's 3 places that I can think of that have good sable palm forests, and it's like there, Frontera, Audubon,
Frontera's got a good one too,
and also Santa Ana.
Oh yeah,
Santa Ana's has a pretty good one too. So if you want to see these good sable forests, those are 3 places to check out.
Yeah, so there's
all of which we've had bad experiences at because of mosquitoes or mud.
Yeah,
but also good experiences. Not to just dwell on the negative.
but it's a really good site, and I would definitely recommend going there.
To Sable Palm.
To Sable Palm, if you're willing to take the risk.
Well, and like we said, it's a cool spot, and we had a lot of birds. So we had that ring kingfisher, and we got our fill of that blind, and we walked over to the other one that's looking back towards the first blind, and oh my gosh, we had the most incredible experience with 4 prothonotary warblers. They were like an arm's distance out of the blind. Yeah, I mean, maybe 5 feet.
I don't think I've seen that many prothonotaries that close before ever. Yeah. And it's a beautiful bird. Like it's like this like a
Sunbeam.
Soft yellow. Like it's not like a mellow yellow. It's like a
peep.
It's not like peep, but it's just like I guess it's so vibrant that its edges are softened. Like I don't know. It's such an interesting yellow.
I wish you would write a poem about that.
But like very, 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 very fun birds.
Not even name it, just like about the yellow bird. Yeah. So no, I totally agree. It's a beautiful bird, and I felt so like fortunate for having that like close experience with that species.
Yeah. And it's not like the whole bird's yellow. It's head and chest, and then the wings are kind of like a gray bluey color. And then the back has a little like a greenish yellow color, but the head and the chest, like that yellow, is just such. It's very interesting. And these birds, they nest over water, so where they were at was reminiscent of their nesting habitat. They don't nest down in the valley typically. They go a little further north, but they are just like so tied to water. Like that's where they were at, right over water. That's the only place I've ever seen them. Is literally over water, even if it's just a ditch.
Yeah.
Like I've seen them in above a water-filled ditch. Like they have to be over water. They are obsessed.
So we wandered the trails a little bit more, and we just had so many good birds. We had red-crowned Amazons and green parrots and parakeets, golden-fronted and ladderback woodpeckers, gray hawk. I mean, just everything that we could want to see there, we ended up seeing.
Yeah.
So we got back to the house and had lunch there on the patio, which was really pleasant. And then headed over to UT RGV, the college campus, to see what we could find in those resakas.
Yeah, so the UT RGV is a college campus that's built around resakas. We've talked about this a couple of times. We don't need to hammer in on this one, but
it's a pain in the butt to find parking.
It is kind of a little bit of a pain to find parking because it's a college campus.
Yeah.
We're there on a Friday.
They don't want randos parking on their college campus.
Well, we're there on a Friday, so it's school.
Yeah.
And the school is in session, so most of the parking is taken up by students and teachers and faculty. And a lot of them that don't want to pay for parking will park just off campus. So then the off-campus parking is also all taken up in the neighborhoods. Yeah. So it's a little bit iffy to try to find something. We were able to find something. Walked in, had a pretty good number of stuff. Nothing really that unique for the day.
We were hoping to find a green kingfisher.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're there.
Yeah, which not today. But some ducks, some yellow-crowned night herons, American white pelicans. There was some regular stuff. Clay-colored thrushes, I think, was the notable one for that part of the trip for the day.
Which we've had some really good clay-colored thrushes there in the past too. So yeah, that was nice. And then we just kind of bounced around to different resakas for the rest of the afternoon. Not too much else notable, but then we headed back to Weslaco for the evening, but Eric and I had some time after that, so we ended up going over to Estero Grande State Park, one of our favorite spots.
Yeah, we weren't scheduled to go there on a field trip the whole time, so it was like, well, let's just go do this real quick.
Yeah.
So we did, and it was good. We were there middle of the afternoon. It was almost 3:00. We spent a couple hours there and had pretty much 50 species. Yeah. Just to go out and we weren't birding hardcore. We barely explored the park itself.
Yeah, we didn't get up to the levee.
Yeah, and still end up with like 50 species for just kind of like playing around on our phones. And
I was doing TikTok lives.
Yeah.
At the feeding station. We had 22 white-tipped doves.
That's so many.
There's so many.
Yeah, very, very vocal the whole time, nonstop calling.
Yeah, and it's nice to see water in the resaka, or in the ponds.
Yeah, in the ponds.
Off the deck again. For a long time, they were having trouble with water.
Yeah.
So that evening, we had dinner at Nana's Taqueria.
Oh, yeah.
And Holly, blames me for that. But Nana's Taqueria is, the coolest spot. It's not far from the festival headquarters at all. It's closer than going over the Valley Nature Center.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool spot. They are a little family-owned place that has expanded over the years into a gorgeous...
Into a big family-owned place.
Yeah, but the building that they built is just absolutely gorgeous. And full of Mexican tile and good food. And yeah, it was a really fun evening. So I'm glad I could strong-arm her into doing that because, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so the next morning we got up and we had the same trip but with different participants.
Yeah.
On the third day of the festival. So
Birdie Brownsville.
We pretty much we did a very similar trip as what we did. We kind of wanted to mix it up a little bit. We had more participants this day, so it was a little bit of different stuff to try to hit, but headed back out to Old Port Isabel to start with. Had kind of the same suspects as we went along, but as we got back to that where the pipeline was at, we had some cactus wrens that were so loud, just calling nonstop.
That
and
was
they were, I think I might have got some recordings of them, but just cactus wren after boom, 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 just hammering the calls.
Well, and also Verdon out there
calling. And Verdon was calling like crazy. So
we had great looks at Common Ground Dove that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were they were dust bathing.
Yeah. It's brown crested flycatcher. So we had different stuff, which is you always get that when you go out birding. It's different things every day, different things every time you go out birding to the same spot. But one day difference and a pretty substantial difference in the checklist. I think between the 2 days we had right around 50 species for both days, but both days put together it was probably
like
75 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, 60 maybe 75 species. So it was a good chunk of overlap, but a lot of different between the two.
Yeah, that is a really solid spot, and we didn't even really spend that much time the second day looking at the lake because the light was so bad.
Yeah, the light was super bad that day, but so we ended up spending a lot of time with those cactus wrens.
See, that's why I want to buy that property, is because then you get better access to look at the lake.
It's true. You would get better access. Yeah,
worth it.
Worth it. So from there, again, headed over to Sable. We had some excitement with a ringed kingfisher, which was actually a belted kingfisher.
Yeah.
I heard a ringed fly in, saw a bird land. I didn't even really look that carefully at it because I had just heard a ringed. And I was like, oh, there's a ringed. Everyone wanted to see a ringed. We got a bunch of people on this bird. We're all looking at it and realized, oh, this is a belted. It took me way too long to realize that this is a belted that we're looking at. So it's like, oh, cool. We have a belted kingfisher here. So I had to dash everybody's excitement and let them know, sorry, guys. I heard a ringed. Let's keep looking. But this is a belted. Lots of people got lots of good photos of this belted kingfisher.
But we ended up seeing
and then like 5 minutes later, we had a ringed kingfisher fly by. And I think pretty much everyone either got photos or got good looks at it. But yeah, that was it was very humbling. Like I'm just describing, like, because it was a thing. I do this occasionally. It's really bad. I'll have the gut reaction of this is the bird that I see, and instead of like staring at the bird, I have to always remind myself, look at the bird and talk about what field marks you were actually seeing at that time. And occasionally I'll get myself all hyped up and I'll see it. I'll be like, oh, that's a ring kingfisher. And then I'll start describing a ring kingfisher and not describing the bird that we're looking at. And that's what happened here. And then I look at it again after a while and I'm like, I'm describing a bird that's not there. I'm describing a ring kingfisher, and that's a belted kingfisher right there. So let that be a lesson to everyone. Describe the bird that you were looking at. Don't describe field marks that you remember that you need to think about. So
okay,
yeah.
Fortunately, we did have the ringed.
We did get the ringed a few minutes later, so that was good. I was able to redeem myself with that.
We also had flyovers of red crown Amazon and yellow crown Amazon.
And yellow-headed, yeah.
Yellow-headed. We just had like a record number of swallowtail kites that day.
Yeah, so we had a couple at the park, and then we leave the park. Oh man! And they were just all over the road. They were like
streaming down the highway,
streaming everywhere. So it was intense.
Yeah.
And so this day, instead of going over to the campus, we headed the other direction and went over to Resaca de la Palma.
Yeah.
So on the way to Resaca de la Palma is where we saw tons of these swallowtails flying all over the place.
Well, it was like all of Cameron County.
Yeah. It was pretty much everywhere. So we went over to Resaca de la Palma. Resaca de la Palma is a state park that is, it has a resaca, and there's palm trees.
It's a dry resaca.
It's a dry resaca. I've never seen water in there. I've seen them a couple of times where they mowed it and they said, oh yeah, we're going to get water any minute now. And I've never seen water in there. I'm sure someone's seen water in there, but it's a resaca. It's a dry resaca.
We ended up getting really good like little forest birds though, like red-eyed vireo and white-eyed vireo, black-crested titmouse. So we ended up getting a couple things to add to the list for the day.
Yeah, and there's a feeding station. Altamira orioles were there.
Green
jays. Lots of typical valley birds that are there. But nothing like
super notable.
Yeah, nothing super notable for that. So it was about that time to head back to Wessico for drop everyone off. Everyone get showered and cleaned up and everything like that before we head to dinner. Instead of us getting ready for dinner, we decided let's go and do a little bit of birding on our own again.
Well, we only have so much time.
Exactly. You bird every minute that we're awake.
Yeah.
While we're there. So
we got some Laredo Taco Company because you have to while you're there.
We didn't think we were going to have another opportunity, so it was like, let's just grab some, even though we're going to spoil our dinner. Let's get some Laredo Taco Company.
Yeah, and then we kind of just followed eBird hotspots to see what we could find. And our first hotspot was Rancho Toluca Resaca, and had a lot of water birds there. We had 250 black-bellied whistling ducks and lesser scaup and American white pelicans. It was a really busy little spot. That was kind of surprising.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting little spot that it's almost a fully round resaca that kind of goes almost completely around, but then in the middle of that circle is all this farmland. It's all private farmland. So we didn't actually want to go into that area.
It said no trespassing.
It did say no trespassing. So we usually want to try to pay attention to those signs.
Especially in Texas.
But it was the resaca that you could sit at right before you go onto that private property was just so full of birds. And so I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool hot spot. So we ate our tacos there while we looked at reddy ducks and scaup and teal and all those fun water birds.
And then I was like, hey, let's go to this other random hot spot too. And I don't even remember what it was called. I think it was supposed to be another resaca, but it ended up being like this ginormous area of retention ponds.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name of there was a hot spot nearby, but we ended up just kind of driving all along, and there's these massive retention ponds that were skirting along the border wall, and there's some sections of area that the local irrigation district had prohibited the border patrol from putting up a border wall in an area. There's all this like back and forth between all these government entities
right on the river,
and it was very this quasi weird, like some of it's privately owned, some of it's public owned, some of it's public owned by local entities. It's all of this mishmash of ownership of properties. And there was a pump house. We drove past this pump house that's what the irrigation district was fighting the federal government, saying, no, you can't mess with our pump house because it feeds all the farmland, all of this stuff going on.
We had upland sandpipers.
Yes. Super cool. We don't see upland sandpipers every year. We don't see upland sandpipers that often. So it was really, really cool. We're driving along and in a field right there.
Yeah. And white-tailed kites and northern harriers and red-tailed hawk and merlin. And yeah, it was like kind of the typical things that you expect to see in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, kingbirds and stuff like that. But it was pretty interesting drive, and then also birding.
Yeah.
And we were driving down in between like some of the retention ponds, and there were all these like fishermen walking.
Yeah. And they like flag us down, and
they're like, how are you driving in here?
Yeah. They were like so confused. They're like, where did you guys come in from? And we kind of described where we came in from, and they were like, well, you can't get out the way you're going. You're gonna have to turn around. And we were like, oh, okay, cool. Well, we're just gonna keep birding. So we drove a little further and ended up running into
where all their cars were parked.
A big gate that blocked, so we couldn't leave. But they were all parked on the other side of the gate, and they had walked in.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, let's turn around and get out of here before someone like yells at us for driving where we shouldn't be driving. Even though
we passed a bunch of border patrol.
We passed a bunch of border patrol. We passed private landowners and stuff that were out there. Nobody said anything to us. There was no signs coming from the other direction. So it's just like they just don't want people driving from that way. But it wasn't. We didn't intentionally try to get to here. It was just like
they thought we were like surveyors or something.
I don't know, maybe. But yeah, we just drove in from the east, and they were all trying to get in from the west.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Oh well.
Yeah. Oh well. Had some pretty good birds back there.
Yeah. Yeah, so anytime we go to the valley, we try to do something different. So we did get to do a couple different things this time.
Yeah.
But it's always fun to go back and see the same old things each time and, you know, hang out with people. And we didn't get a whole lot of chances to hang out and see our friends this time, but it was a short trip.
It was a very short trip. But if you get a chance to go down to the Spring Chirp, which is in the spring in the Rio Grande Valley, I would 100% recommend it. It's a small, intimate festival, like we said. You get to experience the Rio Grande Valley during spring migration. Some of the best times to visit there. All of the guides, besides us, are locals. We are former locals, but all the guides that are guiding down there are locals. They know the hot spots. They know the places to go get food to eat. They know the birds. They know the local eco history of the area. They know the political history of the area. It's a lot of fun to go, and some of the best places. Even if it's multiple years in a row going back, we still have a great time going back.
Oh,
so
yeah,
anyone that's interested in that festival should definitely sign up for it. So that's the Spring Chirp. Thanks for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it and or learned something new. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Music, or anywhere else you listen to us. If you would like to connect with us on the socials, you can follow us at Hannah Goes Birding and Eric Goes Birding on Instagram. You can follow our Facebook page at Hannah and Eric Go Birding. You can also email us at hannahhandericgobirding@gmail.com. You can check out our website at www.gobirdingpodcast.com. Tell us what you think and share the love of birding with your friends.